Hello everyone. So I just first want to pose the first question. What do you think of when you think of creativity? Do you think of this? I didn't do that. Or do you think of this? Well, the first picture there is by my 6-year-old son, and I think you might agree that that's creativity at its perhaps most basic. He's taken a blank piece of paper and he's put some coloured pen on it and he's come up with a picture of a train. But first of all, I'd like to talk about the other slide. Do we all know what that's an image of? MRI scanner, that's right. I just wanted to tell you a story about a designer of an MRI scanner called Doug Dietz. And this story is from a book called Creative Confidence, and it's quite an interesting book if you're looking to explore your creativity. He'd been working on designing MRI scanners for his professional life, and some years back, Doug finished a project on an MRI machine that had taken 2.5 years to complete. And he was rightly proud of his work. And he was invited to see this newest version of the MRI scanner being installed and in operation. So he went along and saw it being set up and so forth. But when he went there that day, what he saw shocked him. He was waiting outside the room, and as he looked down the corridor, he saw a little girl being brought up to the scanner. She was frail, clearly afraid. Her parents were obviously also clearly worried for her, clutching her hand, trying to encourage her to be brave. And as she got nearer and nearer, she started to cry. MRI scanners can be noisy, vibrating, claustrophobic. And that experience for her was so frightening. Doug then learnt that 80% of paediatric patients have to be sedated to go into a scanner. And if that isn't available, the anaesthetist isn't available on the day, it has to be put off to another time, so exacerbating the worry and the time worry for the parents. So although Doug had devised this amazing machine, he felt he had actually failed those that he was trying to help. So it moved him so much that he was prompted to think about how he was going to make the whole experience more palatable to children. So the whole project needed an entirely different way of thinking about it. He had to kind of get under the skin of the machine and the experience. So he got out of the office. He wasn't going to find the answer behind a desk. And he went on to a workshop, and he learned about redesigning things with a more human-centred approach. He thought holistically about how children interact with technology. He had to bring all his creative powers to the project. So what he devised instead was this. He reimagined the entire experience. So from when the child walks up to it and the technician goes, "Aha, we're going to go on a fantastic pirate journey." Terrible, I know. Forgive me. Something along those lines, anyway. But it starts from there, and they know that they're going to go on this wonderful adventure, and instead of it being horrifically scary, it's going to be really fun, engaging. So the decals, they're not just about prettying it, it's about the whole package. And there's also another one that's a rocket ship as well, and some others as well. So the boom, boom, boom of the machine when it starts its vibrations, its clunking, that's reframed as well. So that's all another part of the story and the adventure for the child. So he had to really think about the user experience and an experience that was going to remove the children's fear. And he knew he'd got it right when he saw the next time a child come out of it and ask her mum when she could go on it again. So that's creativity, and I think it's a very powerful story illustrating that. So often when we do think of creativity, traditionally we might think of drawings and art classes and writing, but actually it encompasses so many areas of our lives, from entrepreneurship, business, health, anything you can think of involves an element of creativity. So now I come back to my son. So like the majority of kids, he's pretty creative. And recently he borrowed the iPad and he wanted to write a story. And when I looked at the story, it was quite difficult to read. He's 6. It was just literally an outpouring from his brain onto the page. He'd written it phonetically, and spell check didn't obviously know what to do with that word. So, and he didn't worry about the spelling. So he wrote it and he printed it out, and he wanted to show his teacher the next day. And obviously he'd written once as once. It makes sense, really. But So he was proud of his work and he took it to show his teacher. I just imagine that we could all have that freedom that children have, that their lack of inhibition and fear, to be able to put your hands up in class or in a meeting without that fear of being ridiculed or that fear of failure. One of the biggest inhibitions to being creative is a fear of failure. So, by now, you're probably wondering what a hypnotherapist is doing talking about creativity. Well, I witnessed in my hypnotherapy practice firsthand how adults have that easy confidence of children, how it gets knocked out of us. And it's not really often anybody's fault, but it's just the process we go through when we're learning through education or parenting or friends. We start to have that sense that that kind of outpouring that my son did is just not acceptable anymore. We start to worry about what others think, whether it's good enough, whether people will laugh, whether we fit in with the crowds, that maybe everyone else is better than us. So I know as a hypnotherapist how these kind of fears can hold us back in later life, and these kind of fears that can stop us developing our creative side. And hypnotherapy is in a way my way of being creative, helping people feel better about themselves, and so they can go out and do their own good work in the world, wherever it is. So there's one thing I'd like you to walk away with tonight, is just don't think creativity is not me, if you want it to be. Don't think I'm not cool enough or I can't draw. Creativity is out there for all of us if we want to. I mean, I made a mistake when I was younger and I wanted to do something creative when I left uni and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't really have the confidence or the wherewithal where to take my direction. So I ended up, first job, trotting off up to London in my ugly grey Richard suit and working in a print factory in South London, temping for a number of, I hate to say, years. But now I know better and I'm just practising my creativity through hypnotherapy. There are many different ways of looking at the world, and we can apply creativity to anything in our lives. And as I said, it doesn't mean being able to draw. So if I'd just like to leave you with one last thing, it's by this guy in the States called James Victori. He's an American designer. He's quite larger than life, but I love his refreshing take on life. And his mantra kind of sums up what my message is all about. And he says, every day I will fight to embrace risk and lean into the fear. Make work that satisfies me. Live a life true to myself. And when I do this, my work becomes a gift, and my gift inspires others. Thank you.